Silver Banner, you guys. You know what I mean? Yes. Banner folks. Wearing his Birkenstocks.
The truth comes out.
Good to know. At a later date. But he's very, one of those people that doesn't like to be called out and said how great he is, so now he's about it. So, I just, I can't help that.
Oh, yeah, yeah, it's true. Yeah, we have craft night. Oh. Yeah. People just bring whatever they want to craft with. I'm a little bit more of a woodworker, so I'm always like, my hobbies are dustier and louder than is very social. That
sounds so fun.
On that. But it's sweet, yeah, if anyone wants to come. Not on this Wednesday. Not on the, yeah.
I'll bring snacks.
Yeah. No, snacks are definitely important. And my house.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right, we can just go ahead, I guess, yeah. All right, it's 5:30. Let's call this meeting to order. If we can get a roll call.
Katrina Kindle,
Here.
Peggy Patton,
Here.
Renee Richardson. I'm sorry, I apologize. Renee Nicholson,
Here.
Jane McClintock,
Here.
Melissa Stratton, Tony Allegretti.
Present. And I believe we have a quorum, so we will proceed. We'll move to section B, which is approval of the agenda. We're on a limited time schedule this evening because we're backing up into a meeting at 7. So I spoke with Carla before the meeting. We cut a couple things out, but everything on there is what we're gonna hopefully get through this evening. Thank you to everyone for rescheduling or agreeing to come tonight. I know this was rescheduled from the previous meeting. I know it's spring break, and we are all still here, not spring breaking, which is to our benefit, I think. But any additions or corrections to the agenda for this evening?
I just had a minor one. I wanted to discuss a date change for the next meeting when we get down to the next scheduled meeting. I mean, it'll.
Oh, yes, that's right, yes. There is some discussion about change to the schedule for that April date. So I guess we can we amend the meeting? We'll amend the agenda to, under the announcements, we'll have that TBD, and then we'll do, we can add an unfinished business just for meeting selection for the next meeting. Under E, we'll do that E4.
Okay.
Any other additions or corrections? Okay, with that, let's just do we can just vote by affirmation. All those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll now move to C, approval of the minutes from the December meeting. Those were attached to the agenda. Any additions or corrections? Okay, we can vote to approve the minutes by affirmation again. All those in favor of approving the minutes from December 17th of 25, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. So the minutes will be placed on file with their approval. We'll move to public input. It doesn't look like we have any members of the public present. The public is welcome and encouraged to attend and give input at these meetings. They're open to the public. So again, if there is public out there wondering if they can make statements, they're welcome to do that at these meetings. But given that there's no one here for public input, we'll move on to E, which is unfinished business. We'll start with E1. Lieutenant Gardner is here. He's the new, I believe, our new liaison with the department regarding tasers, taking over for now Deputy Chief Cervantes. Thank you, Carla. So, Lieutenant, if you want to introduce yourself to the board, since it's your first time here, you can discuss your hobbies further if you'd like. but we've heard a lot about them.
All right, my name is Cortez Gardner. I am the patrol lieutenant for the night shift, recently promoted in October of 2025. I think this is my second meeting with the board, so
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. You were
look
here
forward
before.
to working with everyone going forward.
Great. Well, then let's just jump right into it. I think we have everyone was, the files were shared on the portal. We had unredacted versions of at least one body cam. There were other versions of a couple other officers. I believe there were 4 officers in this incident. I don't know if we had all of them, but I think we had sufficient ones to get a grasp of what was occurring. And also attached were redacted copies of the police reports. Has everyone had a chance? I believe everyone's had a chance to review those. I know people were reviewing them because the SharePoint does those sorts of things now. It tracks when people are watching, so be careful. But Lieutenant, go ahead and take it away.
All right, so good evening. First off, apologies. I wanted to put more redacted videos on there, but we were having troubles trying to get the videos downloaded, so we were only able to get that one. All right, so the report we're going to be reviewing today is from 2021, and here's a just synopsis of the overall call from the report. The arrestee selected 2 televisions from the victim business and exited the store without making any attempts to render payment. He was stopped outside by staff until police arrived. The subject refused to provide his name and admit that he did not pay for the merchandise. The subject was identified by another officer, and MECAD advised he had a warrant. The arrestee failed to comply with police commands and made hostile comments to police. While attempting to take the subject into custody, the arrestee resisted arrest and fought with police. The arrestee battered 1 officer and injured a total of 3 officers while resisting. A taser was deployed on the subject with no effect. The arrestee grabbed the officer's taser in an attempt to disarm him, causing the taser to discharge a second time. The arrestee was taken to the county jail. So that is the synopsis from the report. Before I play the video, you will see several officers on scene, but it was only after the first officer arrived there and individual began making statements that indicated he was going to fight or take some type of resistance or fighting stance. Officer maintained space trying to communicate with the individual and moved in when he was trying to leave to place him under arrest. All right, so here's a quick video. See if I can do this. So we're just going to play the video all the way through. Maybe. Sorry. I don't know if this is...
Relax your arms. Relax.
I don't know if there is.
No, Tom is going to check.
Okay.
What the fuck is y'all put cuffs on me for?
Yeah, I can hear it on the computer.
It's all the way up. Okay. Oh, this one. Yes.
more. Yeah, you took my both of them. Here, I got. You got it. That's me. That's me. Here, right here, I got it. Yep. Let's get a hobble. No.
Would you all like me to replay it once we get the sound figured out?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah, it'll be recorded for, yeah.
Okay.
C-sport, so
That's
it'll
not
have
it.
a right. You move if you need to. Relax. Relax your arms.
I was trying to figure out where.
I think this is,
Relax.
Oh, this is the other guy. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, maybe that works better. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Oh, but so some of the audio.
You can just use it and think,
Yeah.
I guess let's just play it from the beginning and. Yeah, if Lieutenant, if you put your mic close to the speaker, maybe that'll help. If it's playing okay from the speaker.
C-sport, so it had a right. What did you need to do? Relax, relax, relax your arms. Relax, relax. You can just take up. Hey, stop. Easy, right there. Relax. Stop this. Stop this. I'm saying, we're trying to be close to you. What the fuck is y'all putting cuffs on me for? Take this taser. Him again. I got the drop. Stop resisting. Stop resisting. Stop. Send us more. Yeah, you took my both of them. Here I go. Yeah. That's me. That's me. Here, I got it. Yep. Let's get a hobble. No. Yep. You're right. Okay, good.
Okay, so we're going to replay it, and I'm going to stop it at certain points to just point out a couple things during the video.
C-sport, so it had a right. What did you need to do? Relax.
So right here, you see the individual is clenching his fist, right? That's usually an indicator someone is going to start resisting. You might not be able to see it on the video, but when you're trying to place somebody's arms behind their back, you can feel when they're stiffening up their arms, right? It's really, if someone's going to resist, you feel it in their arms, because the first thing they want to do is tense up their arms and straighten out their arms.
Relax your arms. Relax. You can just take up.
So right there, right, like I was just explaining, if someone is complying, they're going to willingly put their arms behind their back, right? When they're starting to resist, it's extending their arms and trying to break the officer grip, right? We don't know if once they break that grip, if they're going to turn around and hit the officer on the other side, or if they're just going to be a tug of war, right? But it's imperative for us to maintain control of someone's arm because the hands is what can hurt us. So the officer that has a taser, he decided to display the taser to try to gain some compliance. In a report, he indicated he talked to him. If the volume was a little bit louder, you could hear him giving him commands of like, hey, stop resisting, you're gonna get tased. All right, there's our opportunity to at least give him the opportunity to comply with the commands so it won't go any farther. See, you could tell he's still resisting and not being completely compliant. Look how tight the officer have to hold the individual's arms, right? They're trying to maintain a grip and doing their best to make sure the person can't get loose. He's hugging his arm. The sergeant here is hugging that arm.
What the fuck is y'all?
Sorry for the language, I thought it was bleeped out. This is an example of how something like that can go from 0 to 100. Now it's an all-out fight.
Take the taser.
The sergeant is put in a headlock. I think I missed a little bit. I don't know if I can. But at some point, when they went to the ground, the individual was able to wrap his arms around the sergeant's head. That can alone escalate the force a lot. So if the sound was a little bit better, like I said in the previous meeting, how we train with the taser, when the taser is deployed and you hear that loud arcing sound, that lets the officers and the officers on scene know you don't have a good connection. You're not going to get the desired effect that we're looking for. So that's why we didn't get the muscle lockup, because they didn't have a good a closed circuit. So at that point, the officer with the taser realized that and tried to complete the circuit by doing a dry stun follow through. As you know, he was unsuccessful. The individual grabs hold of the taser. Right here, you see his thumb is inside the trigger well, right? Which is what caused the second deployment. This is a very dangerous situation. And one thing I really want to stress is the officers maintain a good level of calm, restraint. I think it was only one strike thrown when they could have justified doing much more. There was no OC, there was no baton strikes, there was no other strikes but that one. They were doing all they can to just keep this individual on the ground to get him in handcuffs.
You said no OC. What is that again?
OC spray, mace.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yes, sorry.
Where's the strike?
Huh?
Are you talking about the taser strike?
No. So if I can, let me see if I can. I don't know if you're able to see it. We'll go back. It might have been blurred out. It would have been on the unredacted, showed a little bit better on the unredacted version. But it's right when the sergeant was put in a headlock. See if I can back it up a little bit more. Right here, the sergeant here is in a headlock, right? This officer right here is the one that struck the individual to break his grip loose on the sergeant's head.
And again, I got the drop. Stop resisting. Stop resisting. Stop. Send us more. Hey, you took my both of them. Here I go.
And this is considered one of the lowest level of force that we can use, which is our actual physical strength and using joint locks or trying to hold the person down so we could get handcuffs on them. Other things could have happened, but it didn't. You know, no OC spray. He wasn't struck multiple times. They didn't take out a baton and hit him with it, strike the individual with the baton. So I commend the officer in a violent situation like that, that went from just someone not wanting to put their arms behind their back to basically a full-fledged fight. They, you know, they show a lot of restraint, which ended up with multiple officers getting injured. I know one officer, he was off for several weeks because of a thumb injury.
Lieutenant, can you talk about the different holds or physical locks? I think one of the reports describes a Kimura lock. Is that something that the officers are all trained on in doing?
Yes, that's something that is trained in the police academy. We also train it in our controlled tactics training, doing department training. That is something that is very useful to assist with someone getting their arm behind their back.
Okay, so everyone is trained from
Yes.
the department or
Yes.
from the academy before using that?
Yes,
Okay. So that was unsuccessful, I think is one of the reports said.
a lot of things was unsuccessful.
Did they, I watched the videos last night. It seemed like they had, the individual was talking for a long time, describing different things, talking about his religion, and he had some papers that he was writing. He seemed, and one of the reports noted that he was, you know, this may be a crisis intervention, a mental health issue. It doesn't seem like the officers asked or just said, hey, we're gonna put you under arrest now. They just seemed to move in very quickly. After they had developed a basis to arrest him, they knew that the warrant was, an active warrant was pending from another matter. They spoke with the employees from the store. And, you know, I don't know if this would have helped, but it seems like that may have caught him off guard if they moved in that quickly and didn't really give him a
Gotcha.
reason for that.
I think what started the chain of events is when he tried to walk away, right? That's when they had to move in, because in the reports, it says that they had to step in front of him. That's what started everything, because we can't just let someone walk away. We have to keep him in our facility, right? At that point, we can't just let someone keep walking back and forth when we have probable cause and a warrant.
Sure. I mean, I don't remember seeing in the video him darting away. I think he actually came back to the scene after leaving. He went to the bus stop and then came back. I guess my question is, and from what I read in the reports, some signal was made by, I don't know who was in charge. I would assume it was the sergeant but there was some
Nonverbal.
nonverbal hand signal, or I don't know what the signal is, but anyway, you see them all kind of move in all at once. And, you know, I understand that the officer of the taser did say, you know, you're gonna get tased if you don't do this, but this was after the fact that, you know, he's been agitated, he's, you know, the signal has been given. It was clear from listening to him talk with the officers prior to this, which, I mean, they had been doing this for a number of, I mean, it was a good 10, 15 minutes of,
Right.
of letting him talk.
Yes.
And everyone was keeping their calm, and, you know, it didn't seem like things were escalating until they moved in on him. So, and I understand that may be something that needs to be done. So I'm just curious as to why that wasn't asked, like, hey, you know, we'd like you to put your hands behind your back or something like that. And, you know, at that point, he starts trying to make a break for it, or, you know.
So it was at the point where the officer was picking up his bag off the ground, and the individual walked back towards the officer, grabbed his bag, and proceeded to try to walk away. At that point, that's when the officers moved in, because he already showed, you know, physical characteristics that he was going to fight. In the initial conversation with him, he already said he was ready to fight, he was safe to fight. I think the officers did a good job just maintaining distance, trying to talk to him, trying to get him to comply that way. I don't think they had, at that point when he tried to walk away, I don't think they had enough time to say, oh, you're under arrest, right? I think he forced the hands of the officers when he tried to walk away with his bag.
I would have to respectfully say that I interpreted that differently, because they're standing there and he's like, and the gentleman, having picked up his backpack and thinking that he can just walk away, he's communicating, he's like, well, they have their TVs now, and I understand that I can't have the TVs. You know, in that case, I think I will just leave. And the officers at that point, I think that the logical thing would have been to explain to him that he couldn't leave, and why. Because especially the first time that he says, why are you all putting handcuffs on me, is very soft. Nobody answered the question, and then, what are you putting the handcuffs on me for? You know, and obviously, I think very clearly, I think everybody understands from watching, and, you know, the officers on scene understood that this is a mental health crisis. This is not a person who's in rational mind. You know, he appeared to probably be experiencing psychosis or something. You know, he needed medical treatment. So he wasn't going to respond rationally necessarily, but I think not communicating your intentions, and especially when he has the backpack, and so the awkwardness about putting the arms behind the back is largely the backpack.
Right, but
You know,
we
so
don't,
I don't know why they couldn't have said, hey, we need you to put the backpack down, sir. You know, we actually, will need you to stay here with us for a few more minutes.
Okay.
We need, you know, whatever would sort of be, you know, I think he actually had showed several times that he was willing to cooperate.
yeah, but the unknown is we don't know what's in that backpack, right? I can understand that people will say, no, I don't have anything in my backpack, but we don't know, right? We don't know if the individual have a weapon. We don't know what's in there that can hurt us.
But if it's in the backpack, how are they going to open it up, I mean, and use it without enough, where 4 officers couldn't have reacted to that at that point? I mean, that didn't happen.
I got you. And it took 5 officers to try to keep this individual down. We don't know.
But, I mean, not knowing what's in the backpack, I don't think really has anything to do with how the arrest was done. I mean, it may have been clear to somebody that wasn't under some sort of a mental health psychosis or whatever, that you're surrounded by 4 officers, you're not free to leave. But, and while I think the officers did a fairly good job in communicating with him at a calm level, I think maybe explaining that, hey, we need you to stay here right now while we investigate this, or, you know, and then say to him, you know, we're going to now ask, you know, we're going to put you under arrest, we're going to place handcuffs on you. You know, maybe he would have complied, maybe he wouldn't have, maybe would have been right back here, but just, I think, moving in on an individual like this in that state may have not been the best thing. Maybe we don't even get to the taser even being deployed at that point. I was looking through the use of force manual, and I don't think there's anything specifically regarding people going under, having a mental health issue. At least I wasn't aware of seeing that. I don't know if Lieutenant, if you can discuss that.
And I guess one of my things is, because for all of you that don't know, I work at the hospital too in the emergency room. And so sometimes people are so adamant to say a person is going through a mental health crisis, and that is not the case. The person is very high, the person has played wolf or whatever, just because it's that flight or fight response. So here's this person, I've tried to take this, here are these officers, and sometimes let me play what I can. I'm not saying that he did not have a mental health diagnosis, but it could have been something else. And I have seen where, like the officer said, the unknown of what's in the backpack. Because all you have to do sometimes is move the wrong way and it's getting the gas out, or it's something that's going to explode, which is not good for anybody because the outcome. So there's both sides to look at. Now, they could have did it a little bit better by saying, hey, this, but in that moment, only because I've been on the flip side of that person on the worst case scenario. So that's all I want to say.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing that, Katrina. It is easy to sort of make armchair diagnoses, what sort of looks like, for those of us who aren't in the thing. But I have to agree, I felt like the sergeant who was wearing the body cam, and I don't know if I was given his name, but he did, in the full unredacted video, did such a good job of talking to him with such respect that I almost felt like at the end of those, it was like 10, 11 minutes where it was just the two of them, that I felt like the assailant or the had sort of felt like he was really being heard, and the sergeant with the body cam, I felt like could have said, hey man, you walked out with some TVs, we do need to look in your backpack. But he did say, the assailant did say, don't come near me. I mean, he made it quite clear, I don't want anyone coming near me, I don't want anyone to touch me. And several times they said, we just want to look in your pockets, do not touch me. So I sort of felt like they were between a rock and a hard place, because they were given clear orders, you come, if you touch me in any way, but I did feel like it was a missed opportunity, because the sergeant had developed such a good rapport that it was when the other 4 officers came on the scene that the assailant said, I see what's going on now. And that's when he really said, come and get me, I see what's coming down. I don't know if an explanation about, we're here because, you stole some merchandise, we need to see if you got more in your backpack, we need to, respond to the store. So maybe the taser could have been avoided, and the officers getting hurt and the gentleman being taken down, but, hindsight's always 20/20, and I realize that there's decisions being made in very split-second timing, especially when someone can be so, get out of the handhold of 4, trained officers, so.
I mean, having seen a number of retail theft body cam surveillance video, this is definitely not your typical response. Usually it's either I'm caught and they go to the loss prevention room, they're kind of written up and let go. I think option 2 is they split and run and don't come back. What we have with this individual is he walks out, somehow drops the merchandise, goes to the bus stop, and then returns, which is not what you would normally see. And the officers, I think, are tuned in to know when they're dealing with someone who may be under, the influence of narcotics, some sort of psychosis, mental health issue, or just dealing with somebody who knows that they just got caught trying to walk out with some merchandise. So I don't want to discount their intuition here that they're dealing with someone that may be under some sort of have some sort of mental health issue, despite his insistence that he's fine, he doesn't need any medications, his actions didn't fit the other two incident, responses. And I guess as far as a policy concern, which is really what we're supposed to be reviewing here, not whether or not the officers in this case acted the way that they were supposed to or not. That's not the role of CPRB. The state law encourages the departments to come up with policies that are designed to deal with individuals who are suffering from, among other things, mental health issues, because, and what the law says is that they're more likely to experience greater levels of force when interacting with the police, which is what we see here when we have, 4 officers requiring to take down this individual. I don't know what that policy would look like. I think that's for professionals that know that deal with people that are suffering from these types of issues. But, without having a policy in place to follow, I think that's my concern with this, how this incident was handled, is that we don't know what should have been done because we aren't operating with a policy that's not there.
And I think the police would have still been called with his display of aggression and the threats. I think we would have still been involved in some shape or fashion.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that they were there or called. Yeah, that's, that makes sense. I'm sure the employees of the store are required to call the police, not engage. They let him go. He's the one who came back.
I think the first officer made it on scene before he even made it to the bus stop. The officer on scene actually saw him put the TV, he had the TVs in his hand, and he put them down. And they were engaging in conversation, which is when he learned that, he told them, no, I didn't pay for the TVs. So.
Right.
Yeah, I thought that the store manager said that he had gone to the bus stop and come back prior to, and then was waiting around for the officers to come. That was my understanding.
Yeah, again, based on policy, based on the discharge or use of the various takedowns and things, I can't say that the officers were acting outside of the policy. And my concern is with all of these is there is just a lot of leeway for allowing greater uses of force when maybe we could have not used as much force. It seems like even the use of the taser here, that would have been almost a trick shot for this officer to get off with, the way things were moving. It was very kinetic. He had 3 officers in between him and the subject. I don't know how you land that shot anyway. Maybe it could have been more clear to give the subject, he does display it. Again, if you're dealing with someone with a mental health issue that isn't in their right mind, maybe none of that even works. Again, there's a lot of leeway here. I think they were within policy. My concern is that the policy doesn't have something to deal with people going through a mental health issue, at least not at the time in 21. I don't think there's one currently, but that would be, a suggestion for the department to take up. Again, even the state law just says it's encouraged, it's not required. So again, we have more gray area here where I think, we can do better and potentially avoid injuries to all involved, the officers who were out, the individual who was, arrested, potential bystanders as well, but.
My only thought not my only thought, but one of the thoughts that I had as I was listening to the officer say, stop resisting, part of me wondered if it was truly, like we thought, a psychosis, some mental health issue, under the influence of something. Sometimes those negative instructions don't compute. So is there opportunities for officers to use language instead of saying, don't stop resisting, relax your hands, relax your arms, anything that is short to the point in the positive so that their brain can grasp onto that. And I'm not in these situations, and I'm not confronting individuals in these type of situations. So, but I'm just wondering, thinking of all of the potential people out there and citizens out there that police are encountering, are there opportunities to look at short language commands that could be more in the positive versus the negative that the brain has the opportunity to grasp onto? Just a thought.
Yeah, for sure. And trying to do that in a high-stress situation while someone is trying to pull away from you, that's going to be a hard one, because when you're in that type of situation, your heart rate is probably up to the highest it's ever been. So now you have to try to deal with what you're dealing with, what you're confronted with, while trying to say the proper words. It's like you're trying to do two things at once. We strive to do the best job that we can and make the best decision in this split second. You saw that it took half a second, if that, to go from him standing to him basically trying to fight everyone. So I definitely understand, though.
I guess I would just say that, probably practicing those positive statements, all the time, so that they're the first thing that would come out of your mouth, not the stop or relax. I feel like relax is also not very specific, but something that would be like, what we need you to do is put your arms behind your back. Because I think it took him a while to understand that was what was going on in my observation. And then I guess the other piece, policy-wise, is that in the TASER policy, there's a section about seeking medical attention. And I know that he'd only got tased the one time, so it was not absolutely necessary for the taser. But usually, first of all, I feel like I see them offer it. Hey, are you okay? Are you injured? Do you need medical attention? And then secondly, I guess in my reading of it, whether, and admittedly, yeah, I'm in no position to diagnose the situation, but it was definitely a very, he was not acting under a normal way. It seemed like he was having a health issue, whether it was narcotics or it was mental health. And at that point, did they, would it make sense to try to get medical treatment?
In this situation, I don't know. I don't want to say yes or no. They have a nurse at the jail. We go through a screening, and the jail can say, okay, no, we want you to take them to the hospital to get evaluations. But they do have medical care at the jail.
There was some discussion in the video about having to clear him, which I think means they take him to Carl first before they bring him into the jail, which, yeah.
Yes.
Which, yeah, as Katrina might know.
So
yeah, I mean, they have.
I thought there was a comment of, do we need medical for this? And someone was like, no. And so I thought, oh, they're going straight to the jail.
I think they end up deciding to take him to clear him first, and then they take him over. But
I was just curious, did he actually get tased? Because there was some confusion about whether or not he did. Did he?
There was no successful deployment. I think only one barb was in him, maybe, but the circuit was never completed. And then when the second cartridge was deployed, I don't know where that went. I don't think it went in him. I think it just hit the ground from, I think, what they said in the report.
And I know in the video they were looking for it. They were like, we don't know where it went, and they were trying to find, and I think they were successful in finding them, but they were looking around everywhere trying to find them. I was just curious. What I'm not hearing is, was there a crime committed
Yes.
prior to this interaction?
Yes, he stole 2 televisions from the business.
So putting them down and walking away, would that still be a crime?
Yes, he's still committed. So with retail theft is when you pass the last point of sale. The last point of sale is at that door. Well, usually the register. Once you pass that, you committed the act of retail theft.
'Cause I was
Well, and
curious-
this was burglary.
Okay, I was curious in the conversation is, did a crime happen? And
Yes.
And then how do you guys respond if a crime happens?
Yes, crime happened. Even you can't say, you can't go inside a victim business, steal something, walk outside and say, nope, I'm putting it down. The crime already occurred. It's no, going back. So usually if everything goes smooth, we interview, and in this state, you could receive just a notice to appear, a court date, or you can actually go to jail.
Well, and it seems like, if he had come out with the TVs and he'd been like, oh gosh, I'm so sorry, I just thought I could have them, whatever, and he put them down, it seems like the officers and the store at that point could have had the discretion to say, okay, let's forget about this, then he had a warrant for something else, so I feel like they didn't really at that point have the discretion to maybe have made lighter of it.
The warrant oversees everything. It's the judge signing, saying you shall bring this person to jail.
Was it a local warrant or was it from another?
Local warrant.
Oh, okay.
I believe it's a local warrant. I can't quite remember.
Yeah. It seemed like he may have been known to the officers, but it was unclear from what I could glean, but.
I think one officer remembered his name from prior
Right.
interactions with him.
Yeah, I mean, the issue with the property crime that was alleged here, that particular store has a very low threshold for when they report. At least my understanding, it's like $50. So these TVs, I think, maybe just cleared the threshold for, they came out to like $300, which would have put it technically into a felony amount, but had the employees not been required to call the police, maybe he would have just walked away and this, he would have got, maybe stopped and picked up later on the warrant, but, it's. Any other questions or comments? Great, all right, well, thank you, lieutenants, for your preparations. These files will remain up on the drive if anyone wants to continue to review it. Is there, I guess, I know we're putting this off for another day. This was one of the things that was removed, but just in case people have questions about it. The policy manual is how often is that reviewed? And I guess I don't want to really get into this, but maybe at a later date, we're going to discuss when the entire manual gets reviewed or pieces or that. So at the next TASER review, maybe we can have that discussion and how that comes about.
So anytime we get a notification for a policy update, that's when we review said policy. It gives us the reason for the update, whether it is the state law change or a lot of the updates that we saw was changing some of the language to include like gender neutral language. Okay. So we got a lot of our policy updated, and with that, to also. We have every policy manual archive all the way from the start, August 2014 up until now.
Is that available on the website? Because I wasn't able to find it.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm
Is
still
that
trying to learn
something-
everything with this.
Is that something that we can have put on our SharePoint so that any one of the members can look at the manual, because it's, I mean, we're reviewing some things that may not be when the current manual was in place. Obviously, this one is almost 5 years old, but that might be useful if we could have those archived.
I believe we can, because but let me look,
Okay.
because I know that I've been able to access them, but I may have been accessing them through an intra
Sure.
system and not a inner system, but I'll look.
I think there's a current one from the end of last year, but there's definitely not anything back 10, 12 years.
I'll
from
look for it, and if I find it, and they say, yes, I'll put it in the portal.
Right,
And I'll send the path.
okay. Thanks, Carla. Any other questions, or?
And soon we'll get caught up and it won't matter.
That's right.
Thanks to you.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you listening to our observations because, it's super helpful to hear your perspective, valued perspective as a law enforcement official, and because you do this all the time, we don't. But I trust that you'll recognize that we're sort of looking at it with fresh eyes, the way, people on the street would, other citizens would, and there's always something to be learned. So I appreciate you taking back our observations to the rest of the force, and, because I know you want to reduce the amount of use of force just as much as we'd like to see that happen as well. So thank you for keeping that open mind.
Thank you.
All right, Lieutenant Gardner, thank you again. We look forward to the next presentation, and yeah, but I think that's what we've got for today.
Yeah, thanks
All
so
right.
much.
So we'll move on to E2, which is the proposed statements regarding the proposed surveillance technology amendment that's before City Council. The statement, which was prepared by Jane, thank you for taking the initiative and drafting something for us. That was attached at the end of the packet. Does anyone have any comments on it?
I just have some cautionaries, but I'll let you guys talk if you
Sure.
want me to say those now.
I just had, the one comment I had was, the last sentence about reviewing these complaints in the usual capacity, citing our ordinance. I think the only issue I have with that is that I think they're looking for us to do something more than just review complaints, like individual complaints about the use of the technology. I don't think there's I don't contemplate someone complaining about, the use of a, ALR, or a license plate reader camera on them. I think it seems more intended to be a review of the usage of it just as a general tech, if that makes sense. I mean, I guess I read the last sentence being, if we're gonna use it in our usual capacity, that would be reviewing individual complaints as opposed to a kind of a policy level
Yeah,
review.
my interpretation is that the council ordinance is not meant to change, it's just like, if there were a complaint, we would review it. I think it's the same. But I'm also happy to change that. If you want to say we would do it in the usual capacity, and if the ordinance were to change, we could do more, I would definitely be fine with that. But I don't think their intention, if I understand it, and I also thought we could just say this, because we're like, this is all we can do, is that we can do it in the usual capacity that we do it. And if you're asking for something else, you should make it clear, and you'll have to change the ordinance. That was my intention. But I wouldn't even, I think even if somebody said, hey, I want to complain to the CPRB about, in general, the use of ALPRs, because I'm observing them in general being used in this particular way, I don't see how that actually isn't something that would be precluded from our ordinance currently. I think there's this strange interpretation about firsthand knowledge or whatever, but I guess I don't see it as a departure from what currently is allowed by law. But the intention of the sentence was only to say, we can do it as is allowed by law, and not to go further.
Well, I guess, oh, Peggy, did you?
No, I was just going to say, it sounds like we're being intentionally vague, because someone who doesn't know chapter, actually, I was trying to figure out what Chapter 19, Article 3 is in the ordinance. Maybe you meant
That's just our ordinance.
Section 19? Well, I'm looking at the ordinance, but I just don't know what the, well, we don't call them chapters, so that was partly the problem in Article 3. So Section 19.3, but I assume you,
Quite possible.
yeah.
Section 3 outlines the CPRB, how they are
Oh, the
developed, and then what they are to do.
Got
It's
you.
just your
Okay.
Chapter
guidance.
19, Section 3
Section
then?
3
Not
is,
Yeah.
Article.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Article 3, I think it is, because Article 3 has several sections that outline.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I think it's
To participate in review of the report as the task is in line with our mandate. Right.
second, I have it.
I guess the thing that was unclear to me when I initially received kind of a request from, actually it was through Grace Wilkin on the city council, and this was back in November before, some of you were even members. The initial ask was that we would be, kind of develop the report, I think was the initial ask, as I heard it from Grace, and that was my initial response to her, that along with the other reports that we compile, that this would also be a report that we would compile. So I don't know if you guys hear that that's no longer the request, but I felt like that was one of the things we were being asked to respond to, not review.
I think it's just to review.
Just to review.
Optionally, like we would have the option to review it and make comments, and then it would go to city council whether or not we reviewed it. But if we didn't review it, maybe there would have to be an explanation of why we didn't do it.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah, I think the reports are being generated by either council or the city or the department itself, and then we are given permissive authority to review these things. I guess, and maybe I'm just mincing words here, but I guess the only thing I would change in the statement would be, to review it as outlined in the surveillance technology ordinance as opposed to ours. Maybe that, just to clarify, that, but, because it seems like it's more of we're reviewing reports and policy, as defined in the surveillance technology ordinance, which, sorry, I had it here, and now I don't.
Yeah, it's, if I may,
Go ahead, Carla.
the section is titled Annual Surveillance Technology Report Oversight.
Yes.
And so it infers that it's going to be oversight of who's ever under the guidance of this ordinance. And so my cautionary is, I don't think the question of, is it pertaining to this UPD, or is it pertaining to the entire organization? Because if you look at where it says the city department would have to give the reason what you were talking about, that infers that it could be any department. And so I'm in support of it. I would be cautionary in making the language specific or getting those questions answered, because you would be looking at policy, use policy, you would look at annual reports, use policy, and/or databases for each department if it's decided that the department, that it would be citywide. And I'd say be cautionary is, do you feel you have the capacity to do that for each department and each use? And also, do you feel like you have the knowledge base to make some effective recommendations? And I'm not saying yes or no. I'm just saying these are some things to think about. And in the statement, I would just say, make it vague, as you were talking about, because it says here, you will review the report, and there's a report, and then there's policies, and then there's other use information. So I would make it vague, where it's not just stating the report, but saying, as Tony said, as the ordinance, dictates, or something like that.
How about then our board welcomes the opportunity to participate in review as relates to the Urbana Police Department and as defined in the ordinance. you know, and then maybe the sentence is getting long, so we could make a new sentence. We feel this review is in line with our mandate to blah, 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 but why don't we just add 2 little qualifiers there?
Yeah, that sounds fine with me. And I think that, yeah, does anyone else have anything to add?
No, I mean, in the initial dialogue that Grace sent us in November, the question was oversight, you know, that they were considering whether oversight of the surveillance aspect would be done by the Human Rights Commission and CPRB. And I think, and I never heard how that was resolved. I mean, as you say, you understand that it would be, the oversight and development would be done by City Council. And that just, between November and now, I never heard of resolution. And I just wanted to make clear, as much as I would like to see the scope of our work expand, I don't think we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing right now. And this is not within the purview of what we're supposed to be doing. And once we catch up with that, I'd like to see our ordinance change to expand our areas of authority, but that's just not the case now. But it sounds like you all understand it, that it wouldn't be doing oversight. It would simply be reviewing a report that others, and providing feedback, a report that would be done by somebody else, and oversight, which would be done by another body. It sounds like all of you, that's how you understand it. Okay.
I think that's what we're currently being tasked to do in the proposed ordinance. Because I think some of the discussion at council was that preparing these reports would be a burden to other departments and not us. So I don't think we're preparing anything. I think we're reviewing, commenting as a civilian review board of the police. I think we can put the qualifiers that we would review at the police department. I don't think it's in our purview to review other departments in the city. I don't think that would make any sense, and I don't think anyone here is suggesting that. So I think if we make it vaguer, but also just say we support, if we're in agreement on this, that we support taking on what the ordinance or this proposed ordinance would have us do, which again is reviewing something that's already been prepared by somebody else as relates to the police department, providing comment. I mean, it would almost be akin to what we're doing with the TASER reviews, maybe minus individual instances of said technology being deployed or something like that, so.
I know that when Councilperson Wilkin sent us the email, that she said you can, tell them what you would like to see, what would you like to have. I'm saying, right now, as it's written today, it says shall, not may, and it also says city department, and it doesn't specify just UPD. And so if the question is answered saying it applies to the whole city, and then there would need to be some language in the Section 8 to either carve out the UPD for you or change the ordinance that you have surveillance authority, overview over every department. And I think that's the question that's in my head is how would that work? Again, as Ms. Patton said, that with the work that you already have to do and then taking on the entire city. And I know they're making changes. I don't know if that question has been answered yet.
So it may not be just that your statement could be rewritten a little bit. It may be that the statement might need to advise City Council to tighten up their language as well in what they've done so far, that there's some things to clarify from their initial amendment to be amended.
Yeah, I've at this point read so many versions of this that I'm like, I think they have included this. I thought it said that HRC was going to review all the other departments and then that CPRB would review the police department, and that if we didn't read it or review it, that we should provide a reason and then it would go on automatically to the council. But that might not be the current official edition. Yeah, and I don't think, I think honestly us having this conversation is also like clarity enough if the council wants to go back and watch it, that, I don't feel like we need to die on the hill of making a statement, but I think it is personally like clear enough to be like, we will review as relates to the police department, and if we wanted to add a whole nother qualifier, as optionally defined by the ordinance or something, or like, you know, as long as we don't actually really have to do it, you know, we would review in a non-binding manner as relates to the police department as defined by the ordinance,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I mean, there isn't a definition section in the ordinance, the proposed one, which I guess you usually see in the city code, but, and I'm seeing that now, Carla, you pointed out. It doesn't specifically say police department. It says police department in other sections of the proposed ordinance, so I'm sure we'll see another version of this before it's, you know, taken to a final vote. But I think those qualifiers are fair, unless anyone disagrees. I don't know if we can draft.
Yeah, and in Jane's draft to us, you know, she specifies regarding the review of complaints arising from police use of surveillance. So it wouldn't be all the other forms of surveillance that fall underneath the statement. I mean, that,
And I think Carla is fairly saying, though, that in our review of the report, we should also clarify only the police. So we might want to add another qualifier,
yes, gotcha, okay.
Yeah.
Parts in the review of the report as it pertains,
as it
to
pertains to
police
the police
use.
department as defined in the ordinance.
yeah.
Just to share with the board, last night at the Human Rights Commission meeting, they came to a conclusion that the amendment may not need to address them at all, that the kinds of cases that might rise from the amendment would automatically go to HRC anyway. And so they were going to, and then the way they wrapped it up was the chair is going to draft the final language and send it out individually to each one for feedback. But they gave that chair the authority, once it's been reviewed by everybody one-on-one rather than as another meeting, that then the chair could then submit it before their next meeting so that there's no more delay like you were concerned about last time.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I did share with the chair that the CPRB and the HRC are slated to present their statements to the council on April 6th.
Well, the pressure is on.
I have complete faith. You guys are going to get it done.
So, yeah, can you read what we've,
Want me to read the proposed?
and then maybe we, if,
Just a couple tweaks.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you might even go ahead and read into it as a motion if you'd like.
Oh, sure. I can try. Is it like I move that the CPRB consider the following statement as advisory to the city council? Statement
Perfect.
is, the Civilian Police Review Board has reviewed the draft ordinance number 2024-12042, an ordinance establishing approval, policy, and reporting requirements for surveillance technology. This level of transparency and reflection would support the board's purpose of providing a systemic means of continuous improvement in police-community interactions. Our board welcomes the opportunity to participate in review as relates to the UPD and as defined in the ordinance. We anticipate the task would be in line with our mandate to anticipate and prevent problems and foster positive police-community relations. Regarding the review of complaints arising from police use of surveillance, the board would review these complaints in the usual capacity as allowed by Chapter 19, Section 3, or Article 3?
Article 3, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, it's,
Section 19.
Okay, so it was,
Yeah, it's right here.
sorry, I hadn't got it straight whether I needed to change that.
Article 3. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's right.
Section 1920, Article 3.
I second that motion.
Okay, let's call it then to a vote. Can we do a roll call vote, just?
Katrina Kendall,
Agree.
Peggy Patton,
Agree?
Renee Nicholson,
Agree.
Jay McClintock,
Agree.
Tony Allegretti.
Yes. So the motion passes. We will provide that statement to council, or we've approved the statement, and that will be provided to council by the board at the April 6th meeting to CPRB. We'll clean it up and prepare that. I think we've settled that part of the agenda.
Yeah, thank you, Jane.
Thank you, Jane, for drafting
Can that also be shared back out with all of us, just so we have a final copy of it?
Yeah, maybe it'll.
Yes,
The full
Once
statement?
the minutes are available for me, I will send it out to Jane.
Great,
and
thank you.
Let her follow up on approving it.
Great. And it's recorded, so we have the language,
Yep.
whether on paper or on video. Let's move then to, so E4 was added as a proposed change to the next meeting date. It is slated for April 22nd. However, Peggy has a scheduling issue that date. I wouldn't be opposed to changing this as well. There was, I think, a couple dates we discussed.
April 29th, May 6th, and May 13th. And yes, it's partly because I have a conflict, but it also occurred to me since we
also
rescheduled our
we-
February meeting, we don't usually meet one month to next. You usually meet every other month, and so it would make sense to delay it a little bit since we'd be almost less than a month. So the alternative dates at
They're just the next 3 Wednesdays.
the next 3 Wednesdays, April 29th, May 6th, or May 13th, which are,
And I guess what we can do, we don't have, since we don't need everyone scrambling to check their calendars right now if they do or don't have access to it, but if we can vote to reschedule pending a doodle poll that's sent out, and the best fit for everyone, if we're agreeable to that.
Not said it today?
Right, everyone can just go, Carlo, you can send out a poll, we can take a poll of what date is best for most people, or at least to make quorum, and go from there.
and then do you need to check availability?
And,
Yeah,
right, and then, yeah,
okay, I
there's
figured
also that.
you needed to do that.
We will not have the meeting on this Wednesday.
When is our meeting after the April meeting? Is it in May?
June 24th would be the one after that. So it's
Okay.
April 22nd is the one we're
There's
proposing.
some time.
Yeah.
Okay, so then every time in between.
I guess my only question would be, and maybe this is kind of jumping ahead, but we have this, this project to get this report out. Do we want to try to, I agree in terms of our regular meeting, pushing it back would maybe make things more even, but do we want to try to, when we're doing a doodle poll, see if there's a day that we could have a working meeting? Like an executive session to just kind of try to hammer that out? And then maybe in that April meeting, we'd be at a place where we could approve a report and start working on 2026.
I did check with the clerk, and I'll have to get back to you. She did answer me, and I just have to get back with you because I don't remember what she said.
Okay, fair enough.
But I did ask.
Yeah.
About whether we have to have a exec session to discuss it, you mean?
Either a closed session or a working session. I believe she answered it for both of them, but I can't remember right now, and I don't want to misspeak.
So I guess since
Okay.
we're running short on time here, I'm hearing we're gonna reschedule the April 22nd meeting. Is there anyone opposed to doing that? Do we need to take a vote on that, Tom?
I would.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if we could we'd entertain a motion to reschedule the April 22nd meeting to a date to be determined through poll that will be sent out by Carla.
So moved.
You get a second?
Second that.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the motion will carry. That is how we'll handle the next meeting. As to E3, I jumped ahead. Apologies. The annual report, as Jane was discussing, again, thank you, Jane, for really grabbing the bull by the horns and flushing out, I'd say, a very good version 1 and 2 of this report. I've had an opportunity to look at it. There's a lot there. And I think either a working session or an executive session is a great idea. especially if we can do that between now and whenever the rescheduled meeting is, if possible. So if we are in agreement, we'll, pending whatever we need to do with the session and space, we can send another doodle poll out for this, and then we can meet for that session to discuss the annual report. Does anyone want to motion that? So it would be,
This is like just a really busy month for me, so doodle polls, I might not get to the computer. And if everybody is in the same place, I would just rather do it, but if you have to do a doodle poll.
well, I think we just don't know when we
Okay.
have availability for this.
22nd, I'm glad you canceled, because I'll be just coming back from Houston
Okay.
that morning.
Okay, so that worked.
out-
Okay.
That worked out
Yeah,
tremendously, because
yeah.
I've probably been here like,
Yeah, I'd be happy to set a date now, but I feel like it's kind of unfair for Melissa too.
oh, that's right. I
Yeah,
forgot
that's
about
true.
that. You're
Yeah.
absolutely correct. I forgot about that.
And so we're looking at the 29th, the 6th, and the 13th, correct?
That's for the next
the
general,
next
or
general meeting.
general meeting.
And then,
And then we need a separate poll for dates for a working or an executive session to discuss the annual report. But we still do have to take a vote on that to approve, if everyone's on board with doing that, at least
Yeah.
just to schedule.
Right. Yeah, I move that we set up a second meeting to occur before our next public meeting, to focus on finishing up the data report, the draft data report.
And I might suggest we try to do a 2-round poll on that one to gather information about all kinds of possible times during the week that people could be ready, and then follow up with what the majority is to narrow it down one more time. But
Okay.
I'll actually send an email to you to say, here's a variety of times.
Okay.
What time of day, what time of week, other than Wednesday perhaps, could you be available?
Because it's a working meeting, we're not constricted to just Wednesday,
Right.
in this space at this time.
We might even do a different space if it's authorized
Yeah.
by what she's having conversations with the
Absolutely.
clerk.
Okay, so we have more options. That would be much better.
Right, right. So we have a motion for that. Do we have a
Yeah.
second? Second.
Second.
Great. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, so we will get those out. Let's move to F, new business. We don't have any currently, so we'll move to G, officers' report.
I will try and talk really fast. There were 8 complaints against UPD sworn officers submitted since the December 2025 meeting. 2 complaints received suspension due to a pending court legal case. 6 complaints are being investigated. Complaints allege various misconduct from the sworn officers, racial profiling, inappropriate response to call for help, aggressive behavior towards complainants, touching guns and tasers, no response to verbal threats to complainants' children, wrongful arrest with physical force. FOIA requests, there were 2 FOIA requests submitted since the December meeting, and we've responded to those. And all of the complaints are in the portal for you guys to review. Office activity, this month, the office has focused on responsibilities and projects such as researching translation interpretation services to address language barriers, budgeting, annual performance reviews, and scheduling recruitment opportunities throughout the year. I presented to the Clark-Lindsey community about the Office of Human Rights and Equity. I highlighted the boards that the OHRE staffs, including the CPRB, and made a board recruiting plea. It seemed like some of the residents were very interested, so I'm hopeful.
Good.
A reminder to board members about your city email. For security reasons, the city no longer allows forwarding to personal email accounts, so please set your own schedule to regularly check for updates from the city as well as the Office of Human Rights and Equity. Also, as the portal receives new material, I will send an email each time to assist you with keeping up with all the documents and videos. And that's the path I send out, and Peggy she very much appreciates those.
Very much, yeah.
And I'm hoping everybody else does too. Board members should look for a 2026 events calendar in their email soon. Please consider signing up for outreach activities. And that is the end of my report.
Thank you, Carla.
Thank you.
And I
Carly-
would,
Oh, I'm sorry.
go ahead,
Um,
Jane.
I might be wrong about this, but I think we also had one appeal.
That's what I was gonna discuss. Yeah.
Yeah, just
Yes.
to read it into the record while we're
Yes,
reading the
we did
numbers.
have one appeal submitted. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay, great. We'll move on to H, announcements 1. We currently have one vacancy, and it's been noted that we haven't had an application from Ward 3, 5, or 7 recently, so not that the board requires different wards, however, it is encouraged that we get a wide net of different residents, so if you're in one of those 3 wards, that's 3, 5, and 7, you're encouraged to apply to the board. And then H2, as now amended, our next meeting was now to be determined. That will be communicated as soon as it is set. We'll move then to I to adjourn. If we could entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Oh, I can make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Go right ahead.
Need a second?
Second.
So moved. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for your preparation and time this evening.